Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Let's figure out how wet the new movie AXL is. Axel. I went into this movie with very low expectations. I expected it to be extremely shitty, and I walked away pleasantly surprised. It's really not that bad. I wouldn't say it's a good movie, but there's a certain charm to it, and I did enjoy my time with the movie. Story's simple. Military was making robot dogs to annihilate the opponent, just fucking brutalize them. One robot dog breaks out, finds a kid fixes the robot dog, they form a bond, but the military wants it back. It's not a very creative story. It's not going to have J.K. Rowling sweating in her sleep or having wet dreams about what could have been if only Harry Potter had robot dogs in it. But the story is serviceable. It's simple, which is great for this movie because this whole movie is just a giant cheese fest. It reminds me of every cheesy family movie from the 90s. Not only reminds me of it, this movie actually looks like one. This movie honestly could have been something I had on VHS as a kid, and they just re-released it in the theaters today. It looks straight out of that era, and that's why I say there's a certain charm to it, because it has every element that every 90s kids movie with like a wacky premise had. Like Slappy and the Stinkers, only 90s kids remember. Does anyone else have 90s kid hard boners right now? Because I mentioned Slappy and the Stinkers. This movie has nothing in common with Slappy and the Stinkers. Slappy and the Stinkers was about a seal. So this is about a dog. Two very different animals, one would argue. And not just any dog, it's a robot dog like Jimmy Neutron's Goddard. Whereas Slappy and the Stinkers, Slappy was a fucking real life seal. Blood pumping through his veins, not oil, not diesel. There's nothing in common between Slappy and the robot dog in this movie, Axel. There's nothing in common between them. But this movie still reminds me of that, just because it has that same type of feel, the same type of structure, the same type of jokes, delivery, story, all of it just feels right out of the 90s, which is nice. It doesn't have a real agenda to push or anything. It doesn't have any bigger overall message. It's just, here's a kid that's struggling with some shit. He does dirt biking, so even more 90s nostalgia shit right there where dirt biking used to be cool. And then he finds this dog and they form a bond, and you gotta evade the military, and you gotta get the great looking girl. You gotta slay that pussy too while keeping your dog safe. It's fun. It's an enjoyable family movie. I could totally see myself as a kid wanting to buy this movie on VHS and watch the fuck out of it like I did with Slappy and the Stinkers. Man, I cannot stop mentioning that movie. If you haven't seen Slappy and the Stinkers, wouldn't recommend it. It probably hasn't aged well. I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but damn it, that movie is really on my mind after watching this. But yeah, I mean, anyway, there's really nothing wrong with the movie, but there's nothing good about it either. Dialogue's super not great. A lot of the acting's also ridiculously not great across the board, say for a couple characters. Like Becky G does a great job, I think. But really, it's not very good in any aspects at all. It just has that 90s flavor to it where it's like, you know what? We know we're not good. Let's revel in it, and you're still going to enjoy it, even though you know it's not good. And I can't really put that into words, but I can quantify it in the moist meter. I'm giving AXL a 30%. That's a very low score because it's objectively not a good movie. No matter how you measure it, it isn't very good. But there's just so much to like about this movie. When you go in there and watch it, it's just like, fuck, this is some 90s shit. Like, damn, this is some real 90s shit. Jesus, he's fucking dirt biking, and that's a robot dog with jet boosters in his asshole. This is some 90s fucking shit. And it's fun. It's a fun movie that I think most families would probably enjoy, but it's really not a good movie. So I can't give it a higher score because I'm trying to grade it as like an actual objective piece here, and it's about a 30% on that report card. That's it. So yeah.